That's great. That's great.
Fantastic. So in stark contrast to the Lake District, Mansfield is a very dense urban area, the largest town in Nottinghamshire. I suspect you're less likely to go there on your holidays as well. But nonetheless, we've again tried to develop a design code that is very much fit for purpose. Similar to the Lake District, we have a good planning context. We have an adopted local plan, which is fairly up to date. We have a town centre master plan. Just to give a bit of background to our code, we, as Steve's already pointed out, and Matt, we are one of the 25 Pathfinder local authorities. We started to develop our design code in the summer of 2022 and adopted it late last year with the help of Phil Jones Associates, or PJA as they're more widely known. Excellent consultants, by the way, if you are looking for potential partners. Ours covers the town centre only. It's broadly within the defined ring road, and it's the area that's also covered by the town centre master plan. We went through a very widespread consultation at all stages of developing the code, from initial identification of issues through to testing a draft version of the plan and then subsequently adopting it. We are now part of the Pathfinder 3 project, which effectively looks at monitoring and implementation and effectiveness of the code. What I will say at this point in time is that code is mainly being used for pre-application discussions. We've had a number of very minor schemes coming within the town centre where we're applying the principles of the code, but in terms of the major sites, then at this point in time we don't have any full applications. So you'll see before you on the screen there, this is the extent of our code shown in the red line there. The annotations basically show up the listed buildings, other heritage assets, some of the key linkages, some of the key active edges that we're seeking to encourage as part of the development, and also the 16 public realm and potential development sites within the town centre. It also shows areas of flooding and other constraints. So the content of the design code, we have a three-phase approach. So we have some town-wide rules that apply, as the name suggests, to all developments, and these cover things like the historic environment, street network, the provision of green infrastructure, the provision of biodiversity, sustainable drainage systems, and those sorts of issues. We expect all developments to comply with those town-wide rules. We then move on to area-wide rules. There are 3 areas within our code, and these are based around the heritage assets within the town centre. So there are 2 conservation areas. So the 3 areas comprise of conservation areas containing heritage assets, non-conservation areas containing heritage assets, and all other areas. So effectively we have more flexibility in those areas that are outside of the conservation areas and those with heritage assets, and a greater level of control where there are more heritage assets. So the area-wide rules again cover things like density, block form, the height of buildings, like the Lake District, and the materials to be used. There's a lot of stone and red brick used in our town centre. Also issues around active frontage and how buildings relate to the street, scale and landscaping and greening. We then have 16 specific development sites and public realm sites, and these again have specific rules where we provide more guidance. So this looks at things like, connecting the streets. So some of the larger sites, it's trying to recreate the historic street pattern. The heights of the building, very, very important. The materials to be used, obviously, also very important. So these are the area types. So the orange areas here are areas within a conservation area that contain heritage assets. We're very fortunate in Mansfield. We have a quite beautiful viaduct that runs through the town and provides really quite impressive backdrop to the core area. We have a marketplace that would, Mansfield does have its struggles sometimes with design and design quality, but the marketplace would probably grace any European city. There's some really attractive listed buildings around there. The grey areas are the town centre sites with heritage assets outside of the conservation areas, and the blue areas are the remaining areas. So the status of the design code. We adopted our design code as a statement of council policy. We did have quite a big internal debate as to whether or not to adopt it as a supplementary planning document, like many other of the pathfinders have done. But I think we had some concern that obviously there's very strong guidance that you do not introduce new policy through supplementary planning documents. So therefore, we felt a statement of council policy will be as adequate as SPD, if not more so. It's been through a very lengthy consultation exercise. It's backed up by strong government guidance. So we therefore feel it can be afforded as much weight in the decision-making process. I think were we starting again when the new regulations take place at the back end of the year, we probably would have pursued a supplementary plan, again, because that gives it the same weight as the development plan. And we're also looking to update our local plan at the moment, and the intention is to have a policy hub for the design code in any new local plan. As we've discussed, or Matt certainly mentioned, that our code is very much couched in terms of being rules with it shall, must and will in accordance with the code guidance. And I know that there is a bit of disquiet amongst some of our DM officers, and maybe there is amongst the room today. We do have potential for a design review panel where there are elements of the code that we think may be, developments that may be non-compliant, and that allows an independent arbiter to assess proposals. So how is the code being used? We do have worked examples. We've got multiple town centre schemes that are in pre-application discussions. Two of the most advanced ones are council owned, which we do see as easier wins because we've got a willing and friendly partner. We made the code available to the architects there early on in the pre-application process, so they were aware of what our expectations were. I suspect we'll probably have more of a battle when we have totally private sites where the developer is maybe a little more reluctant to fully apply the principles of the code, but we've not met that as yet. We make the status of the code very clear. It will be a material consideration that we afford substantial weight. And so far, the emerging schemes that we have appear to be code compliant, some of which we've sought modest amendments to them. But again, I think the proof of the pudding is and the true test is when we're challenged at appeal. And obviously, we're all hopeful that the planning inspectorate will embrace design codes in the way that the pathfinders and government appear to be. Here's an example of one of the site-specific codes. So you'll see there it's a mixed-use development. It's probably the application that's been submitted is for around 80 units. The code sets out our aspirations for creating new links, recreating the GINL or the JITI network. It looks at where the face of the building should be. It looks at the heritage, both assets, both designated and non-designated, that should be retained and are respected as part of the development. It shows where new green space should be, where sustainable drainage should be, and it's quite reassuring that the emerging scheme is very, very similar to the guidance within the code. So we have produced a coding checklist as well to assist with both developers and our DM colleagues. There are two checklists. Major schemes we expect the developer to submit and we will assess it. Minor schemes, the DM officer assesses it on a case-by-case basis. We have offered up fairly substantial training both for officers and members, so they feel comfortable with the status of the code and how to use it. And that's just an example of the compliance checklist there. So a few issues and problems. I'll just quickly wrap up with those. As I said, some discomfort in terms of the status of the code and setting out rules, some uncertainty about the weight. We need training. We have a big turnover of DM officers, which I suspect others do. we're yet to be challenged at appeal, and we are really reluctant to add additional burdens to DM officers, particularly with things like BNG coming through. We know that, you know, you guys are all snowed under already, so we want to make it as simple as possible. So